baseball insider Jeff Passan, who's bounced around. He's a journeyman scribe, worked a lot of places. And he's one of the information guys in baseball. If you didn't see this, maybe not. He wrote of who makes up baseball. He says, quote, if you went and got the next 1,200 best baseball players in the world, the product would suffer greatly, Passan wrote. If you handed MLB teams over to any 30 competent business people, the sport would not suffer. It actually might improve, close quote. So this is a version of the chicken or the egg argument, right? What is more important here? Is it the players? Is it the owners? Where are we at on this? So let us discuss the question, theoretically speaking, would baseball suffer greatly if all the players were replaced? If everyone was gone, all the players were gone. And it's an unpopular opinion because I'm shaking my head no on this. I've got Aristotle, Jerry Seinfeld, and Sponge Bath. And we'll put all these things together, and that will be the foundation of this Maller monologue. And we're going to make some chicken soup for the soul. So to lead off, I love hypotheticals. Hypotheticals are great. The reason they're great is very simple. I'm going to tell you why. You're never wrong in a hypothetical because it's a hypothetical. So whatever you say is accurate because there's no way to disprove it. It's hypothetical. And while I love watching Mookie Betts, very happy the Red Sox were dummies and gave him to the Dodgers, and the Dodgers won a World Series finally after sucking in the playoffs for so many years. Mookie Betts was a part of that. And I like watching Shohei Ohtani and Fernando Tatis Jr. and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and all these other tremendously gifted baseball players who are electrifying. They're eye-popping. And they're also all replaceable. Both these things can be simultaneously true. And how do I know this? When I started covering baseball regularly, forget when I'm a fan, when I was a kid, but when I got into the media business and I was a radio stringer covering baseball, the players seemed bigger than life. And how could baseball ever go on without Ken Griffey Jr. or Barry Bonds or Frank Thomas or Mike Piazza, Tony Gwynn, Mr. Padre, nicest guy I ever met in baseball, and so many of these other players that were wonderful. Wade Boggs, my God, unbelievable. Mo Vaughn, who was great for a couple of years. And that was a long time ago, right? That was almost 30 years ago. And every single star of the game, every single player that was there when I started going around baseball, they're all out. They've all been replaced. Tired. Some of them, unfortunately, are dead. The game continues to be a financial bonanza, despite many writing the eulogy of Major League Baseball. Now, why is this? As the great Greek philosopher Aristotle said, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Now, furthermore, I understand the agenda of the baseball insider Jeff Passan. I would do the same thing if I was in his shoes. His job is dependent on information. The cottage industry of being an insider, you are beholden to the players and their agents. Those are the ones that feed you the scoops and keep food on your plate. To be Mr. Insider Guy, you need the agents to be feeding you information and the players as well. You gain more access by sucking up to the players. The owners are not feeding the gossip. They're the aristocrats. They're not part of this. Now, Passan was simply repeating the hubris of the union. And it's always been one of the talking points. Every time there's a work stoppage, it's whatever sport, this is baseball, whatever sport it is, can't go on. The product is the athlete on the field, that they are indispensable. And excuse my French, but let me be macabre for a second. So I was at a funeral last week, had to go to a funeral, and I actually missed the day of work because of it. And I was at a cemetery, and I walked around in L.A. here, and I walked around the cemetery. And, one of my weird things, I like to look at, read the tombstones, and that cemetery was filled with indispensable people. Walked around there, I read the tombstones, men, women, children, all that. Very valuable, very valuable. They're not around anymore. The reality is most fans just want to watch the game. It's always been my position. Right? I'm not talking about ethically. You can't. Obviously, I support the players. I'd like to see the players get money. But the idea that the game of baseball would go away if they replaced all the players, that's poppycock is what it is. And my point has always been this. The rank and file, the hoi polloi of society, just want to watch a game. They just want to go out, have some beer, have some nachos, hot dog, watch a game. It's the hardo 5% that are obsessed with the names on the back of the jersey. Whoever happens to be on the team at the moment, the vast majority of people are like, all right, who's on the team this year? All right, maybe we got a shot. We suck. And it's kind of like that opening scene in the iconic movie Major League, right? We're going to suck this year, blah, blah, blah. They used a different word. But it's the great Jerry Seinfeld who observed it's different guys every year. And one of his stand-up routines, he famously said, you're rooting for clothes when you get right down to it, which is absolutely true. You're screaming for laundry. That was the old comedy bit from Jerry Seinfeld. But it's right. It's been proven that you don't need to have star players to sell tickets. You can have a bunch of nobodies, and people will still watch these games. What is my evidence? I present to you, behind door number 1, the Pittsburgh Pirates. Behind door number 2, the Colorado Rockies. Door number 3, the Miami Marlins. Door number 4, the Baltimore Orioles. You want me to go on? There's not a single name brand player on any of those teams. Nothing but flotsam and jetsam. And their games were broadcast on television. They all had TV deals. People showed up. They didn't do great in attendance, but they did sell tickets. People went out, they had their hot dogs, they had their peanuts, they watched the game, they said, we suck, and that's it. Teams made money. Every team in baseball makes money. The owners are lying when they say that's not the case. They just don't. Some teams make more than other teams. But the ugly truth is that if you look at this situation, you cannot be an influencer. It's not the internet. You can't be an influencer without a platform in the sport of baseball. The platform is set up by Major League Baseball. You can blame Congress years ago giving baseball special exemptions that prevent them from real competition. But if you replaced all the players, you would actually, in a weird way, have a level playing field because everything would be equal. New stars would emerge. Storytellers from the marketing department would make these players seem bigger than lives, building up the legend, the mythology of these new players. And someone would lead the league in home runs. Someone would lead the league in wins. Someone would lead the league in strikeouts. And that's the way it goes. I'm not saying it would be amazing to watch, but put the uniforms on them. It could work. And we hope that never happens. I always saw that happen once in my life when they brought replacement players in a long, long ago. All right, last thing here. So let's address the other issue. The idea that if you replaced all the owners, that baseball would improve. See, I believe that is also farcical. That is a pipe dream. I don't buy that either. Because imagine, if you will, a world where all 30 teams got new owners lickety-split. All the current owners skedaddled. They all checked out. That's it. We're done. It wouldn't change. I'm going to tell you why. Because we're dealing with human beings. Hardwired, good business people, hardwired the same way. And you might not like it, but the people running baseball from a business standpoint are doing one hell of a job. They are. They absolutely are. Now, if you bring in new owners, competent business people, you might get better PR. The owners are not very PR savvy. You'd get a different commissioner that's not a clown like Rob Manfred. And maybe the new owners would give the players a sponge bath and while they're pillaging the pocketbooks of everyone. But the end game would be the same. That's my point. We're not talking about open heart surgery here. The owners of any business, I work for a major media company. I promise you, the people I work for, every time in management, they say, how can we pay the people here the least and make the most profit? That is what business people do. That's what good business people do. And then as an employee, you try to figure out how you can get the most money and whether you have to go somewhere else, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the ownership's goals in baseball are to keep the expenses down, 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 and the profits up, 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 and away. And franchise values continue to skyrocket. billion-dollar TV deals, even when supposedly no one's watching baseball. There's another negotiation going on right now. Baseball's talking to NBC on another $100 million plus Wednesday baseball deal. But baseball's terrible. But the owners, the current owners, beat the players at the bargaining table pretty much every single negotiation, ultimately. The owners have hired a bunch of Ivy League weasels to find loopholes in service time and other manipulation to reach the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It's pretty good if you just assess the actual business part. Is it cold-blooded? Sure. Are the owners liars? Yeah. I'm not going to disagree with any of that. But from a pure business standpoint, if the argument is if you bring in other business people that you'll do better, I don't think it's going to be better. I think that good business people will say, look at the owners. They won't tell this to you in a polite room, but they'll say, man, from a business standpoint, they're really good at what they do. They're really good at what they do in baseball. And the ownership side, and so that's where I stand on that. Unpopular opinion.